So, what do you do, Alex?
I'm currently just going through the benefit system. Like, it's my first month of claiming JSA. Well, universal credit as it is now.
Yeah.
And just looking for work. Like, I've worked though many different places.
Oh, hey man, nice to meet you. Thank you. Yeah, I was on the BBC the other day.
Is it? Oh, nice,
Yeah,
nice.
But yeah, sorry, Karen, you're on JSA or whatever they call it now.
Yeah, yeah.
And how do you think your prospects are?
Not very good, really, because like it's called the job centre, but you know, I go there. They don't give me work. Like during all of my jobs, I've had to find myself, whether it be through word of mouth or something.
Yeah.
And in the past, I've actually steered away. I've actually steered away wanting to claim benefits because of the stress it puts you under. Like, do you know what I mean? Having to. Some people can't afford a computer. Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
you got to justify yourself constantly, don't you?
Yeah, you got to justify yourself, and you know, there's like a lot of mental health issues with young kids nowadays, and it's hard for people to think that they're at the bottom of society when they haven't really done anything wrong. Like, do you know what I mean? They're looking for work, and they have to answer for all sorts of things. Like, do you know what I mean?
So I'm just gonna tense up a little bit. Sorry, carry on.
Yeah, well, like I was saying, you know, there's.
So, if I would say you don't feel like you're being listened to, would that be accurate?
Yeah, I'd say I'm not being listened to. Like, I'm saying I want to find work. I don't want to be on benefits. Like, do you know what I mean? It's only £250 a month. Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's nothing.
That's that. You know, like people will say, oh, you should be grateful. You know, you're not doing anything. But I've worked since a young age. Like, do you know what I mean? I found myself in having to go through the housing system and stuff and being placed in a hostel. And these hostels are claiming ridiculous amounts of money. Something like Mill Street, they're claiming £700 a week. And, you know, the excess of people who could be put into work, you know, these people, you would call them junkies, you would call them criminals, you would call them like outcasts of society, but they could be put to some sort of use, you know, anyway. But, you know, why isn't that put into place for people like that? They want to put them into a corner. They want to put them in systems where, you know, like private companies, again, to claim £700 a week for someone staying in one room. Like, what
and
kind of...
it's not to help you either, is it? It's to keep you out of the way so you're not nuisance.
And, you know, there's all sorts of rules. There's alcoholics who are put into these systems, and then they got to be breathalyzed before they go back into these places. Do you know what I mean? Like, they can't... Some people, they can't help drinking, like doing, and it's not, you know, like there's people who are alcoholics, but they've had money in their family for generations. Like, do you know what I mean? They don't even do fuck all, and they're the worst type of people in my opinion because they don't understand. Like they've never. I went to Travalis over there. No, the housing association building over there.
Yeah.
And the guy who ran the actual place, I was speaking to him, one of the literal big bosses in there. He said to me, I don't understand how you haven't had any money for 2 months. I don't understand how you haven't had any cash at all. Like, how could someone say that to someone? Like, you know, he's obviously wealthy, and he was like, I don't understand how you've had no money for 2 months.
Yeah, because it's not his
like
problem, is it?
No,
no,
exactly.
They don't. So he doesn't have to worry about it. He just goes, oh, I don't understand this, and wanders off home, and it's not his problem.
Yeah.
So you were saying that you think a lot of young people are turning to drugs.
Yeah, but...
Tell me why.
Well... It's a release. Do you know what I mean? Like smoking cannabis.
Yeah.
I smoked cannabis from a young age, about 15 years of age. I always knew where it was. I went camping and someone had a joint. Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I had been drinking anyways, and I just smoked weed and I enjoyed it. Like, it helped me. Like a lot of people say, it can make you paranoid and that, but it helped my nerves a lot. I used to shake really bad.
Right.
I used to have anxiety to the point of going down to town on my local bus. I knew I was meeting friends. I knew I was going to have a good time, but I'd have this anxiety in my stomach, like a sickness.
Yeah.
And it helped me like alleviate that. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Right,
it's like self-medicating. And what happens if I say about my problems to a professional, to a doctor? What's the first thing they recommend? Oh, use some tablets. You know, I can't speak to anyone. They can't put things in place for me to make things better for me. Like, I want a job. I want to work for myself. I want these things that everyone else has. You know, I want a car. I want a family unit.
Yeah, of course.
And
you're actually putting the effort in to get them.
There's
no support structures in place.
And well, I'm going to the job centre, and that's not easy. Do you know what I mean? They expect you to do 30 hours of job search a week, and in my last job, I was only working 25 hours a week. Like, do you know what I mean? And that's a lot easier to do being active and doing things for yourself and getting a decent wage, that's a lot easier to do than sat at a computer for £60 a week for 30
and
hours.
It's soul destroying, isn't it?
It's
getting rejection after rejection. I've been unemployed, man. I know what it's like.
What's this online system as well? Like, do you know, even the job search websites, they're not even formatted properly. Do you know what I mean? You go into Job Centre, their computers don't even work properly. They don't load quick enough. You can't access. Do you know what I mean? The government can't even be bothered to format the website properly. You know, they can't even design a website properly for me to search jobs properly. And the jobs they're offering, how many people are applying to one job?
So if I were to sum it up, I would say that you feel disenfranchised and ignored. Is that true?
Sort of, yeah, because, you know, I want to be like everyone else. Like, do you know what I mean? I don't want someone saying to me, oh, you're on benefits, you're a benefit claimer. You know, it should be like, there should be some respect added to it. Like, do you know what I mean? And then most people are forced into this corner of having to struggle with their mental health and like go into the hostel system and stuff. Even I'm going to the hostel system. They tell me I have to stay in my room all night. I'm not even allowed to leave a room all night. Like, do you know what I mean? I gotta be stuck
like
in my
prison.
room. I know. Do you know? It literally like
awful.
a prison. Like it is. It's really bad. Like, there's kids around here. They're having £240 a month, or even less, because they're paying like court fees or something.
Yeah.
And I've seen them around here. Do you know what I mean? They're resorting to stealing. It was almost like a Dickens novel around here in Pontypridd. It is.
No, I believe it.
Do you know what I mean? There's kids having to rob so they can feel full. Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They got things to pay. You know, if they want to. Today, I've got to pay nearly £30 just to go and see my grandmother. One of my family members I'm dependent on, probably my only family member.
Yeah.
And like, I need that. Do you know what I mean? I'm far away from my home at the minute. I need to go see her, like, and it's very expensive. And, you know, it seems like there's nothing left over for me, like, do you know what I mean?
So, that sounds terrible, because it sounds like you don't have any future prospects. It sounds like you're just stuck in a rut.
Well, there's not much opportunity, really, is it? Do you know what I mean? I've worked. I've done catering. I've done construction. I've gone up as far as Scotland through catering work and such.
Yeah.
And it's just constantly pushed back. Do you know what I mean? Like, I do feel like I don't know where to go sometimes, or where to turn to. So,
I mean, what political party would you even think about supporting?
I've never been taught about politics. I went to school. No one mentioned anything about politics, because they don't want you to know. They don't want you to have your own voice. They don't want to educate people on what they can do to make a change, or how many people don't vote, how many people just lumber on with their lives and don't have any prospects and don't want things to change because they don't feel like they have the tools to express themselves.
Yeah, see,
and they don't.
No, this is something we've been hearing a lot, because we're with UKIP and we've been polling really, really well among young people. And I think it's because we're coming and actually talking to them about their concerns, because we get it, we actually understand. Because a lot of us have been through the same thing.
But what are you going to do to make a change? Because it feels like no one can make a change, especially in this political landscape. It feels like no one has actually got an agenda of change. It's all, I want to get in and I want what they have. And it's the same as everyone. It's like, I want what you have. It's not, I want something different for me and for everyone else.
That leads me very nicely to talking to the candidate for the MEP elections in South Wales. Chris, do you want to tell people about what UKIP can do about these things? What the plans are in the manifesto?
Yeah, certainly. I mean, in terms of the initial manifesto, we've always been a party committed to leaving, firstly and foremostly, the European Union, because we can achieve a lot more things doing that. Firstly, obviously, we've currently got open doors with the rest of the European Union. There's about 350 million people. And the net effect of that is that, more than anything, it's, minimum wage jobs, lower end jobs, competition coming in from the country. It's a lot harder for people to find those roles and find that work because, we got an open border with the European Union. So if we could close that down and actually control, that flow of immigration, then
my fear is, though, the restriction is the opposite of what we need in these times. I think that it needs to be an opening, like when I was younger, I always thought the European Union was a good thing. Like a union is always a good word. And, it is, having a passport, we can travel freely, I fear that closing those borders is going to bring in more illegal immigrants. I feel like the situation I'm in, a lot of people are offering work illegally. It's that's the only work, because they don't, it's.
Well, can I address your concern there? Because I think it's actually the opposite way around. I think that illegal immigration isn't actually a huge problem into Britain because we're an island. You can't just walk across the border. It's actually quite difficult to
No,
get
but
here.
you never underestimate the desperation of people, because
Yeah,
they come over and people are risking their lives to have, a better life. And what is that about? Like, why is it a country that pays so much tax? Why are we a country that everyone contributes so much out of everything we buy, everything we work, we contribute, but we're getting nothing back?
Well, I can tell you why. Because there genuinely is a problem with mass immigration in this country, and it's not about the people themselves; it's about the numbers of them that are coming. There are literally, tell him to get a job. He's trying, mate. He's trying to get a job.
Fuck you, cunt.
Hey, come on. There are families around. Don't swear. Come on. But he is trying to get a job, man. That's the problem. But anyway, seriously, there was a study done by the Bank of England that showed that if you bring hundreds of thousands of people into a country, it depresses wages, and it makes, obviously, more competition for jobs.
Yeah.
So if we leave the borders open, then it's even more competition. It's more people competing with you for your job, for the jobs that you can get in your future.
But
Come and talk to me, sir. Come and talk to me. Or you can just shout and pretend that you're right by walking off. But the thing is, I actually know I'm right. I actually study this for a living. This is my job. This is my full-time job. And I promise you, I bet you're wrong. I bet if we were to have a dialogue, I bet I'd be able to show you the flaw in what you think. Honestly, don't just wander off. Come and talk to me. We'd love to have a reasonable dialogue. That's why we're here in the streets. Come and talk. Come over and talk. I can cite you the study if you'd like. It was done by the Bank of England in 2016. Showed that low-earning jobs are being heavily depressed in their wages because of mass immigration. Unskilled immigration, sir. It's completely logically coherent. It wouldn't make sense if you brought in hundreds of thousands of people to compete with our young people for the same jobs, that wouldn't be more difficult for our young people. It just doesn't make any sense, does it? It must be that way. Sorry. I can't stand it when they just walk past and they just yell something and then, I'm not going to stand by that, I'm going to run off. But,
I know. I could do a smell, to be honest. I don't even know what I'm talking about. Like, I'm just having a conversation. Like,
you're telling us what
learn,
your experiences are. That's
Yeah.
your experience, because this is what we want to hear. Because, like I said, UKIP's polling really well with young people because we actually know that you guys have the future, and it's looking bleak. I mean, it's looking bleak in many different ways.
It is, though. Like, there's so much uncertainty. Like, people are gonna just, I don't know, like, well, it's happening already. People are just losing faith in a lot of things. Yeah. And I fear that's just going to keep going on. And there isn't going to be an identity. It's not Great Britain anymore. Everyone wants to disband. Yeah. And what have we got after that? We've got nothing ourselves. Like, we've got nothing to base things off.
Why don't you tell me why, sir? Tell me why, sir. Tell me why. Don't just... Well, come and talk to us. Come and talk to us. We're honestly here to talk to people. But this is the thing. Are we not listening to you?
No.
I think we are.
Well, people are like that are the problem, really. Like, they're just entitled. Like, look at him. He's walking around. He thinks he's got it all, but he's obviously not happy if he feels the need to go and shout at people in the street. Like,
he feels guilty, doesn't he? He has got it all, but you don't.
Not got it all. Like, and I don't. It's not like I get satisfaction from like those things. Anyways, like material things only go so far. Like, it's
purpose.
Like
it's about purpose, isn't it?
People are just detached from what they really want nowadays. Like, do you know what I mean? There's this idea of getting family and like this desperation. Then it's like people settle for less than what they actually want because of the strains in this country. Financial strains. Now they end up with a wife they don't want. They end up with bratty kids who they just all they want is sugar and more fucking artificial food, McDonald's. Like, do you know what I mean? They done. And it's bad, like, do you know what I mean? People are filling themselves with cancer, like, do you know what I mean? All this sugar, all this food, and it's, it's so bad, like, do you know what I mean? It's so expensive to buy fresh food, and like, why is that? Like, why is everything so expensive? Why are wages so low? Why is it?
I can tell you again, like wages are legit low because of mass immigration. And the thing is, since the Brexit referendum, there have been hundreds of thousands of Eastern Europeans leaving.
I myself don't think that the answer is cutting that off. I think that there should be more purpose. There should be more industry.
Yeah,
like housing and that. Why is there like a massive housing shortage? Why aren't council houses being built?
Why is there a housing shortage, Chris?
Well, one of the reasons we've got a massive housing shortage, of course, demand is vastly outstripping supply.
Well, all the private companies have got it, like Hanson and that. Do you know what I mean? I live in a village in Penderyn where, I used to, where Hanson Quarries have been working over EU regulations with pumping out toxic, like it's limestone dust. Right. That goes to a fine dust, which is cancerous, like. So, you know, they're making loads of money, they're making loads of pollution, and they're making houses that won't even last 100 years. They're charging full whack now for a house that's made out of cheap materials. Do you know what I mean? It's only going to last one generation, and they're all going to be knocked down. And then we're going to be in the same situation in a couple of years where.
Yeah, that's actually something they call planned obsolescence. So they deliberately build something they know won't last.
Yeah.
So in a generation they'll have to rebuild it again and more money for them.
And that's wrong. Like, why are we giving the power to these private companies? Why are we selling out all?
I can tell you why. The Tories are deregulating them. Because there are some things that need to be regulated, and that kind of thing. You're absolutely safety, people's safety.
And I don't know, and builders a lot as well, like contracts as well. Do you know what I mean? There's ridiculous stories of people claiming money for contracts for things they haven't even built. Like, there's so much money just the people who know to say the right things and have put themselves in situations where they're not even delivering promises.
And a lot of that is, taxpayers' money, isn't it? It's everyone's money, and they're using it to make private profits.
What was that story in North Wales where someone claimed millions and millions of pounds for a worm farm or something that didn't exist? do you know what I mean? Like, that's the shit I want to get on. Like, do you know what I mean? I want to be like, do you know what I mean? Like, and that's what people do. They don't want. They just want to become. They just want to become part of it. They don't want to make it better. They want to lie and then just get all the. You know, how in this country as well, the opinion is someone like me, like that guy, but he get a job, he's claiming job seekers, but then the people at the top, like you said, are claiming £200,000 expenses. Do you see me? And then they are expected to be treated with respect when I'm not. I'm put in this bracket of, he don't even work, he's this and he's that. And then it's like the people at the top of the country are claiming 10 grand to go down the road on a bit of petrol, do you know what I mean?
It's unreal, the things they claim for, and then you don't even hear about the fact that they employ all their family members as well as their staff.
I know, no,
they get unbelievable amounts of money. So this family becomes very wealthy.
Yeah, and it's wrong. That's what this country's been for generations now, and I think it's really starting to show that there's just a clear divide. Do you know what I mean? There's people living we could never understand. Do you know what I mean? It's almost like God mode in a video game or something, doing unlimited currency, they can move freely, and they've never had to face that oppression of not being able to move because of a monetary basis. And I think if they were putting that, do you know what I mean? I'd love to see I'd love to see a reality TV show or something of all these politicians who've claimed loads of expenses, living in a council house for a week or something. Do you know what I mean?
Dude, I totally agree, because the poverty trap is real. You find
It
yourself
is.
stuck, and you're barely making it through each day,
and no
one gives you anything.
And then they're wondering in London now why kids are turning to drugs when they can make so much money off it. And then the government answer is, we're going to cut off social media, so we're going to isolate them even more, so they're more of that trap. They're not trying to solve the problem. They're just trying to mask it, and it's getting worse. They're literal kids stabbing each other over drugs and money, and the government hasn't got the guts really to stand up and say that it's a health problem.
I agree. Now let me give you what I would do about this, and tell me if you think it'd help. Right? So I really hate the criminalization of drugs.
Same.
It's not that I'm in favor of drugs, but I don't like treating what I believe to be a genuine health issue as a crime.
There's drugs and everything. Look at energy drinks or even anything. E-numbers. Sugar is a drug.
It's killing people.
Do you know what I mean?
It's legit killing people.
And there's so much of it. Do you know what I mean? And I was speaking to this homeless person in Cardiff. I seen him in a shop. He looked like a very normal bloke. He was well presented. He was clean, buying a couple of bottles of beer. And I just happened, just to have a chat with him whilst I was walking outside the door. I was talking to him for a bit, and then we'd come up in conversation. And I was like, I got some weed. Do you want to come for a joint, bro? So I had a joint down. And he ended up explaining to me he was homeless. I wouldn't have guessed. I wouldn't have guessed. Do you know what I mean? Walking through the streets of Cardiff, he had trench foot. Do you know, we were so shit that we wore. He had trench foot from walking the streets of Cardiff because he's getting moved around by police. He has no prospects. He has no way of getting back into work. He has no family around him.
What can he do?
Yeah, do you know what I mean? He was addicted to crack as well, he was. And do you know what I mean? Fair enough to the bloke. Do you know if he needs to smoke a bit of crack to get down to the end of the street? I say let him. Do you know what I mean? If he's got trench foot, his feet are falling off, and he needs a bit of crack so he can get from A to B.
You were saying earlier that we should address the root causes of why people are turning to drugs. And I think that's the most important thing.
Well, I think it's because drugs are really good.
I don't think they are good. Well, no, I think we can agree they're not. That's the thing. They might feel good in the moment, but like you say, it doesn't give you meaning and purpose,
drug addiction isn't good, obviously. That's where the problem comes in. But recreational drug use is amazing. have a bit of MDMA or something. Do you know what I mean? In therapeutic
Look,
dose.
we're not promoting drugs.
No, I'm not promoting. I'm just you asking to speak to me. I'm going to be honest with you. Like,
well, these are your opinions.
A therapeutic dose of MDMA, it can do all sorts of wonders for you. Do you know what I mean? In a social environment.
I've never done it.
But if people ain't being educated on safe dosages, ain't being educated on, how they should take drugs, and that's what it should be, because people are going to do it. It's easier for a kid to get their hands on MDMA, cocaine, than it is for them to get a pack of fags from the shop.
See, now that's a really great point, because if all of this was decriminalised and actually regulated as part of the law,
and then the government can make money off it as well. And do you know what I mean? Do you know how much all these people stabbing each other would go away? Because it's like, oh yeah, I can nip down the shop, I can get some cocaine. Like, do you know what I mean? Fuck all these cut drugs and all. Like, do you know what I mean?
Well, you cut out the illegal trafficking, wouldn't it? So all of the people actually doing the violence would lose their jobs.
And then you've got proper quality drugs. The people know what they're taking. They can dose themselves properly, and they're having a good time. Do you know what I mean? They're having a good time.
Can I summarise this? I think you can summarise this with the phrase, prohibition doesn't work. When you try and say, right, you're not allowed to take drugs, you're not allowed to do these things, you might think, well, out of sight, out of mind. But there are still, the government did a study, there are 10 million habitual cannabis users in the UK.
Yeah.
And it's just like, well, that's
I'm
not
one of them.
Yeah, well, that's not going away, is it?
No, it's never going to go away.
But now you're a criminal because you're enjoying just a substance that has been arbitrarily made illegal.
Exactly. I don't like to think I'm a criminal. Like, do you know what I mean? I don't.
Well, I don't think you are like a criminal. That's the thing. We're criminalizing people who aren't bad people because of some sort of puritanical morals from the 30s.
I know. And what was it? Originally, they were quite worried because hemp production and the way they could produce paper was really going to affect the paper industry. And they made up all sorts of lies about Mexicans raping. And our newspapers are the worst. We used to, when we went over to Africa, we used to portray black people as monkeys. There were stories in our newspapers of them cutting off their genitalia in front of their wives and their children and watching them bleed out in circles. Our imperial soldiers. There's drawings of imperial soldiers around black people. Do you know what I mean? And we were taking all their resources, we were taking all their gold, we were getting rich off exploiting people, and that's what they're doing nowadays. They're exploiting people, they systemize them, and they're making money off making people criminals. And it's wrong.
Well, I think, again, the bottom line is we need to develop industries and opportunities for people like yourself, because, I mean, we've lost all our industries, haven't we?
Yeah,
we lost the mines, we're losing our steel industry.
Imagine like a skunk industry or something. Imagine if you had people in prison or something growing skunk. They go work, they get to smoke a bit of skunk in prison or something, they're chilled out, prison violence goes down a bit. Do you know what I mean? Everyone's getting their skunk. Everyone's happy.
Everyone's happy.
Yeah, you can get CBD weed now. Like, do you know what I mean? You can get weed that hasn't got.
But they've already decriminalised this, of course, in California, and there are other states, the United States, where it's actually becoming a regulated industry.
They've decriminalised psychedelic mushrooms in Canada now, in one of the cities, and I think that's really good as well, because drugs are good. You know, there's psychedelic mushrooms. There's 40% of all dirt, all soil has got fungus in it. And they reckon the way mushrooms goes through the earth is almost like the internet. Do you know what I mean? It's like, you might think it's like some sort of like spiritual malarkey or something, but it's true, you know, the world is, you know, like we sit in concrete streets, we think about money, we think about sugar and all these drinks and all this food and that, and it's nothing, like, do you know what I mean? It doesn't mean it's bad for our health. Then these mushrooms are actually, they're curing depression, they're making new neural connections in our brain. And that's what it's like, you know, like, we could have been sat under the trees smoking weed and eating magic mushrooms and having the most mad psychedelic experiences and self-realizations and, you know, love for other people. But no, we don't want to do that, do we? We want to stick to our concrete and our sugar and even the concrete. Like I said, I live in a village where they got all of that limestone dust, which is cancerous. Like, they're exploding it goes into a fine dust, and just because I'm in vicinity of that, I've got a higher likelihood of getting cancer.
We're being asked to move on to the next person.
Yeah, sound. Right, great.
Cheers.
Thanks for your time anyway. Thanks for
Dude, thank you so much for sharing your experience with us, because honestly, like, that's a brave thing to do, man. You know, because you're exactly the kind of person that we're very aware of, the sort of person who doesn't feel that they've got any prospects. They don't feel that they've got anywhere to go. And so you turn to drugs. What else are you going to do to pass the time? You know, and suddenly that's making a criminal out of you. So we've got young men who are eager to work, who want to do something, who are just stuck in a rut and they can't escape. And so they turn to what is now technically a life of crime, even though you're obviously not that kind of person. Of course you're not. I certainly wouldn't consider him. But thank you so much for sharing all that with us, man. It's honestly, I think it's brave to do in the middle of a street in the middle of the day. You know, I think that's a very brave thing.
Police officers over there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah.
You've been watching the Joe Rogan Experience.